Hello, everyone. Today we're going to learn about something called relative clauses. It sounds a bit difficult, but it's actually quite easy and it will help you make your English sentences even better. Lesson objectives will be able to define nouns. We'll be able to identify the relative pronouns who, which, where, and that. We'll be able to use who, which, where, and that in simple sentences. We'll be able to explain that a defining relative clause gives essential information about a noun. But first, let's remember nouns. Who can tell me what a noun is? Nouns are words that name people, places, things, or ideas. Look, here are some examples of nouns: teacher, scientist, riad, mosque, table, chair, happiness, education. Remember nouns, because they are very important for our lesson today. Now, let's learn about some special words that help us give more information about nouns. These words are who, which, where, and that. First, let's learn about who. We use who for people. We use who when we want to tell you something extra about a person. Example: this is my friend who loves to read. The teacher who helps us with English is very kind. See, the part after who tells us more about the person. Now, can you make a sentence with who? Next is which. We use which for things or animals. We use which when we want to tell you something extra about an object or an animal. Examples: this is the book which I borrowed from the library. I saw a cat which was sleeping in the sun. The part after which tells us more about the thing or animal. Can you give me an example with which? Now let's learn about where. We use where for places. We use where when we want to tell you something extra about a place. Examples: this is the park where I play with my friends. That is the school where my sister goes. The part after where tells us more about the place. Can you make a sentence with where? Finally, we have that. We can use that for people, things, and animals. It's like who or which. Examples: this is the boy that I met yesterday. This is the book that I want to read. That is the dog that barks a lot. See? We can use that in many ways. Can you make a sentence with that? Elicit sentences. Remember, who equals people, which equals things, animals. Where equals places, that equals people, things, animals. Now let's see how these words help us make defining relative clauses. This sounds difficult, but it's not. A defining relative clause gives us important information about a person, thing, or place. It tells us exactly which one we are talking about. Examples: look at the box that's on the table. The relative clause tells us exactly which box. He's the scientist who was on the TV news yesterday. The relative clause tells us exactly which scientist. See? The words "that's on the table" tell us which box. The words "who was on the TV news yesterday" tell us which scientist. To make a relative clause, we add a relative pronoun after a noun. The choice of relative pronoun depends on the type of noun. For a relative clause about a person, use who. That's the woman who we saw yesterday. For a relative clause about a thing, use which. Did you get the message which I sent you? For a relative clause about a place, use where. This is the place where they made the first battery. We can also use instead of who or which, but not there. She's the artist that I told you about. I'd love to have a machine that can cook dinner while I'm at work. The relative pronouns which, who, and that can be the subject or the object of a relative clause. If it is the subject, we don't need another subject. This is an invention that I could change the world. If it is the object, we don't need another object. Did I tell you about the film that I saw it last week? Let's look at this example. The girl is my friend. The girl is singing. We can join these sentences using who. The girl who is singing is my friend. The teacher who is smiling is nice. The cat which is sleeping is fluffy. The part with who or which gives us more important information about the noun, teacher, cat. Let's try some more examples. I'll give you 2 sentences and you join them using who, which, where, or that. This is my book. It has a blue cover. This is my book which, that, has a blue cover. Example: that is the restaurant. We eat pizza there. That is the restaurant where we eat pizza. Can you try 6 to 8 yourself? Now, let's do some practice from the book. Look at these sentences. 1. There is a scientist who has solved the problem. We use who when we talk about people. The part after who tells us which scientist. 2. Joshua Silver has invented glasses which don't need an optician. We use which when we talk about things. The part after which tells us which glasses. 3. They live in places where there aren't any opticians. We use where when we talk about places. The part after where tells us which places. For more practice, you can do exercises 6, 7, and 8 on page 97 in your student books.